As we all know, there have been some protests taking place in regard to the war in Gaza on university campuses across the country. It all started with Columbia University. And over the weekend, if you were paying close attention, there were all sorts of videos posted online, many of which lacked context. And I don't want to get into them because I think those instances that are going viral really need to be developed a little more. We need more information about them. But of course, anytime you have a mass movement or mass protest, you're gonna have some people say unhinged things. There were some counter protesters who also engaged in unhinged behavior. But nonetheless, the big update today is that Columbia University made it clear that by the afternoon, students had to leave the campus, basically do away with the encampment that they built in the university's campus, or else they would face suspensions. And so the big update now is that Columbia University has in fact begun suspending student protesters who have refused to abide by this deadline to vacate the encampment on the New York campus. This is reported by CNN. There's also a lawsuit, by the way, and I think this lawsuit probably encouraged the president of Columbia to act with a little more urgency. So in this lawsuit that was filed today, an anonymous Jewish student alleged that Columbia has failed to provide a safe learning environment during the ongoing demonstrations. I just want to note that despite the very few examples of people saying unhinged things, for instance, there was one, I'm gonna try to not say inflammatory stuff, but it's hard not to when you hear idiocy like this. But there was one student who said that Zionists don't deserve to live. That person has been kicked out and it's deserving. You should not be promoting that kind of message, okay? It's dangerous. It is not something I'm in favor of or supportive of, but I give you that as the exception to the rule. If you see how the actual protesters who were in the encampment were acting, how they really went out of their way to ensure that this was a non-violent protest, you'll get a sense of how guys like that were definitely the exception, not the rule.
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you.
To be perfectly frank with you, I love the fact that the students feel passionately enough about this issue to make their voices heard. I also really feel that it was gonna be an impossibility for Columbia to divest from Israel. And in fact, they made it abundantly clear that they are not gonna divest from Israel. And even though the protesters might not get what they want in this case, I think that they have started something that could grow, that could be built, hopefully in a peaceful and productive way. Elsewhere, Brown University said that it will hear a group of students and faculty members' arguments for divestment. So it appears that at least Brown University is more open to the idea of divesting. Columbia is literally building a sister campus in Israel, which is why I felt that it was gonna be unlikely that Columbia would actually listen to anything that the students had to say about divesting. But Brown University seems to be a little more receptive. We'll see where that goes. Northwestern University said that it reached an agreement with demonstrators to limit the scope of the protests. So in some campuses, they're allowing protests to happen, although it seems like they're doing so in a way to keep them contained. At Columbia, you're seeing the most aggressive action. And that's the other thing I wanted to bring up. Look, when you're talking about Columbia, we're talking about some of the top universities in this country, okay? Whether you like it or not, these people are the future of the country, very likely future elites in this country. And if their experience with Israel and their protest of Israel is going to bring up these memories of them being, brutally arrested in some cases by police, or if they're going to think of their professors getting brutally arrested and knocked over by police, they're not gonna have warm and fuzzy feelings toward Israel. And I think that the way Netanyahu handled, Netanyahu should not have released a statement about what's transpiring on American university campuses, okay? It's not, I get it, they're protesting Israel, so he felt the need to say something, but all he did was inflame the situation further. And so I think overall, this forceful response to the protesters, who I believe do have a genuine moral issue with what's happening in Gaza. The way that they're treating these protesters, I think, is counterproductive for anyone who wants to ensure that America maintains its commitment to Israel. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I don't know if young people are going to follow suit with what we have in the country and in the government right now. And as we know, one of the reasons why the US is such a close ally and a defender of Israel, regardless of which government is in charge, how far right-wing the government is, regardless of how they carry out their war in Gaza, it all has to do with the main issue that we have in any political policy decision decided by our federal government. It always has to go back to, all right, well, what are the lobbying groups involved? Which lobbying groups are the most powerful? And the Israel lobby is powerful. I don't know how persuasive they're gonna be in the future, considering the people that are getting their skulls crushed right now and getting suspended or expelled right now are gonna be the future leaders of this country. So I just think we have an issue with people not being willing to think about long-term strategy. And I think that's definitely the case with how some of these protests have been handled. Hundreds of protesters have also been arrested, over 20 campuses across at least 16 states. So it's a developing story. Columbia has gotten a little more aggressive today. We'll see what the students will do following today's events. And it seems, a lot of these students are willing to take a suspension or even an expulsion in order to make their voices heard. So we'll see how this develops, and I'll fill you in as it does.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.